and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton, and today we are going to take a visit to a wonderful new regional animal shelter in which Hampton is a partner. My guest is Roger Iles. Hello.
Well, hello, Robin.
And you're the director of this wonderful new facility.
Well, definitely, you've hit on it. The habitats that we have really sort of illustrate and profile the animal in its best light. So the idea here is that you get to see the animal, not the cage.
Right.
So with that in mind, you get to sort of see the behavior and you get a chance to sort of interact at the animal's choosing. If you noted that on the side of the cages, we have these card cage informational sheets, and part of this tells the guest what type of behavior these animals actually have. So it's not a surprise when you take this animal home and then suddenly you see it either very sedentary or very playful. Maybe that's not necessarily the lifestyle you wanted for that cat. So it actually tells us a little bit about the animals.
You really go into the behaviors and personalities of your animals. And I think, the stereotypical picture of a city shelter is cages, warehouses, kind of move them in, move them out. Sure. This is different.
We want to create a situation where this is their forever home. Now, not being the shelter, but being obviously when they're adopted and they go into the right situation for them. So what we try and do is provide the guest with as much information about this animal as possible, because again, we don't want the surprises on the other side. We want this to be a great pet parent experience, but also for the animal, we want to make sure that they are aware if there's any particular idiosyncrasies or traits that they need to be aware of, that they know that going into the adoption process. And you're absolutely right. We have an animal behaviorist on staff. We do behavioral profiles on these animals to try and sort of find out if they are maybe food aggressive, or they just are very skittish. They don't like being around other cats, or maybe they don't even like being around other dogs. So they can interact accordingly. If we have, and we go through that process with our animal behaviorist, if you come to us and say, in our house right now, we have 2 children, we have a dog, but we like a cat, we'll actually profile animals that based on that type of situation where they get along with other animals, such as a dog. And
so you actually test it out and see which cats can get along with dogs, or which dogs can get along with dogs or other. Oh, wow!
So again, we're looking at this in creating a situation where we want to be the most positive experience for both the guest and the animal.
Well, now this is essentially the headquarters for animal control for Newport News, Hampton, York, and Poquoson. And so you're housing strays, you're housing animals that there's dangerous complaints against, animals that are turned in. I mean, you kind of don't always know where these animals are coming from. What do you do when there's a first intake and you've gotten that animal?
We receive animals that come to us from a situation where it's an unknown. So the first thing for us is really to look at what sort of situation has that animal been removed from the home, or has it just been picked up off the street? And we need to have that information passed on to us in a dialogue, and it can be either through form and or actual conversation. So on the intake, if the animal comes to us and it has some sort of identification on the animal, we will go ahead and hold that animal for an extended length of time.
Because you're going to try to find the animal.
Absolutely. We want to reunite that citizen to their animal and make that the right connection. In a situation where an animal comes in with no identification, then that whole period is a little less. It doesn't indicate or affect the process through adoption, but it means that when we can actually probably expedite it a little quicker. We do a medical evaluation, we do a behavioral assessment, and that's called under our SAFER program, which is actually identifying if this animal is suitable for adoption on the other side. Once we identify that, the animal is, if it's not neutered and spayed, the animal is neutered and spayed at our hospital clinic. It is vaccinated, microchipped.
So wait, I just want to back up.
Sure.
Here on the Peninsula, we did not have that capability before. If you were to have adopted an animal from the SPCA, which used to house our animals, it would come with a certificate, but you had to go to the vet and get that done yourself. So absolutely. You have a clinic on site to take care of that.
We do, and we have a licensed veterinarian, and also we have a licensed vet tech, which is part of our medical health team. So for us, we want to make this almost a one-stop shop. So the focus should be the animal. It shouldn't be then I've got the animal, now I've got several other things to do. We want you to enjoy that animal from the time you walk out of this facility. So with that in mind, we want to make sure that it is medically sound, behaviorally sound, and a good animal to have within the communities that we serve. So that's how we sort of program and position ourselves.
And I'm going to say, in this building, which I know all the cities participated in the design, Newport News was the lead agency, but is set up very much, you know, like a pet store in the front part, the customer service part, where you meet the animals and all that feels like a pet store. And your background isn't animal control exactly, so you come at this really from a zoo perspective primarily.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've been very fortunate through my career in working for a variety of different organizations. Everything from, as you mentioned, the zoo field, starting with the Zoological Society of London, where I learned my apprenticeship and then came over to the United States, working through a variety of different organizations. Also had an opportunity to work for Petco Retail Animal Supply, which also gave me an insight into actually, as you see, these type of habitats.
Right.
Very much retail-like. And part of that is being able to join both components together allowed us to actually build and develop what you see today, which is really pushing the envelope in animal shelters. Very creative, very imaginative teams that actually not just the vision of putting this facility together, they have focused as much on the adoption side as much as on the animal control as well as on the holding of animals. So the big focus for the 4 jurisdictions that came together was to have positive outcomes for the communities that we deal with.
And you know, it's important to be said here at this point. I mean, we split off from the SPCA because they wanted to be a no-kill shelter, and frankly, the cities can't legally do that. We have to be able to deal with diseased dogs. We have to be able to deal with dangerous dogs. I mean, there are feral cats that can't be tamed or homed. I mean, there are problem animals that we legally have the obligation to deal with.
Absolutely.
But once you assess, you know, who is in that category and then who is adoptable, or as you said, who can be adoptable. So sometimes it might take a little longer to bring an animal out of whatever behaviors developed from their previous situation.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I mean, each dog, or not just dog, but cat comes with its own story. For us, you know, we have a team at this facility that sort of has to unlock those questions, and we have to try and sort of look at the behaviors that we see, and then sort of match it with what and how. And then once we start unlocking those sort of doors, then we get a chance to really see the personality of the animal. And from that, that's what we show the guest when they come in. It's not what we started with, it's where the animal is. And of course, that's the most positive outcome of all, because these animals are rejoining, if you like, society at a whole different level. And one of the best things, and you probably know from your own experience, adopting from an animal shelter is probably the most rewarding both for the animal and for the guest itself, because you're actually making a difference within our community. And you're taking on that responsibility and you're giving that animal a second chance. And a lot of the situations we find, these animals are in situations that they didn't want to put themselves in.
You know, especially in this area, as transient as it is, as much military, I mean, there are people who get deployed, who move into a situation where they can't take the animal. I mean, there's a lot of turnover, unfortunately, for people who are unable to take that pet with them the next time they move.
Absolutely. I mean, in supporting the military that is part of our jurisdictional location, we do find situations that you've just acknowledged. But part of it is we have a facility now that can accommodate and support and then rehome these animals. Because again, the more information that we receive about the animal that's being surrendered to us, the more we're able to provide that profile back to a potential adoptee about this animal. So again, that quickens our process, which is really what we're all wanting to do. We don't want these animals to be in the shelter. We want them rehomed. That is all our focus, and our focus every day in what we do.
So now you told me rehomed, reunited,
and re-educate.
Well, now what does re-educate mean?
Well, in situations, you'll find people that probably think that they have an idea or an understanding about a particular situation, whether it's a behavior or whether it's just a situation that the animal in its home or even in a garden. A great example of that is we're about to go into a series of seminars through the shelter, one of which is going to be through Hampton Grows, Inc., which is a non-profit. They're going to come out to us and they're going to do pet-friendly gardening. So how many situations have you found that you have this tremendous yard, lots of beautiful plants, but most of which are probably toxic? Now, if you've taken a pet and you put it out in that environment, it's just like a small child. They will taste, they'll test.
Oh, right.
Well, what we're doing is partnering with organizations such as that to come out and give a seminar and teach people, teach our community, if you're thinking about planting something, these are some things you want to consider. Plus we have our veterinarian, Dr. Holland, and in that she'll be talking about symptoms and issues to look for in the event of something does happen. So we're a little bit more than just an animal shelter. We're more of an educational facility to want to make sure that you get all the information that you can need to take care of your animal properly. And then also, as we mentioned, we do have our animal behaviorist on staff. This is a relationship that we're building with each of our clients that come in to adopt from us. If that animal has a behavioral issue that develops maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks away from after that adoption, we want you...
It's a traumatic thing. Even
absolutely.
if it's a good situation, everybody is a little different. That animal's going to take a while to transition.
Absolutely, and certainly in a situation, we want to be there as a resource to that guest. And instead of just bringing the animal back to us going, well, there's something I'm seeing here that I really didn't see when I came to adopt, we want to be able to answer that guest's questions. So by contacting and reaching back out to us through our animal behaviorist, we can provide that information back. Plus, we're getting even more high tech. We're going to be going online and doing seminars. So we'll actually be creating situations where guests will be able to go onto our website eventually. Not right now, but we're working towards this. And there'll actually be situations where we can develop potty training. And so if you get a puppy from, whether it's us or another humane society or rescue group, and you start to see issues with potty training, which is challenging enough, you'll be able to actually go onto our website and see how to remedy some of this. So again, we're an informational resource beyond just coming to adopt an animal from us.
But if we are coming to adopt an animal, let's talk about that a little bit for the people out there who think, oh, maybe I could use a dog or a cat or a rabbit or whatever else you have, at the time.
Sure.
How do they come? Where are we located and how do they get here?
Well, first of all, we're located on the corner of Briarfield and Jefferson. We are a little off the street, I would say, but definitely if you know the location around Hampton or Newport News, you'll definitely find us. Certainly from that side, when you come to visit with us.
And the customer hours are?
For adoption for us right now is 1 to 4, but those hours will be expanding as we bring on more staff, and also with our volunteer program that's about to sort of develop. Those hours would certainly expand. We plan to go to a late evening hours.
Oh, that's nice, yeah.
We are 7 days a week operation, so we don't close. We stay open to make sure that we meet at least an expectation for our guests out there. But also right now we have extended hours in the morning that if a guest comes to surrender an animal or look for an animal they may have lost, there's a way that they can actually get in touch with us by coming to the door and calling or ringing a bell, and one of our staff come out and answer and meet our guest. So we're trying to work and adjust to wherever we need to. But on those hours of adoption when you come to us, you'll be greeted in. We have a program called Meet Your Match. And that is basically a survey that you would fill out as the adopter, telling us a little bit about your lifestyle, whether you are with children, other pets. That gives us an opportunity to look at the animals that we've already put through our program and see if they get along with children, if they get along with other pets. So then the experience is, if you're looking then for a medium dog, we can show you probably 2 or 3, 4 animals that meet your expectation through that Meet Your Match program. Because we profile them on one side, we profile the information that you've got on the other.
Right, it's like a dating website.
It's a dating website. And do we have a rabbit for you?
That's right.
But truly, we look at it from a perspective of really behavior, because we want this to be your forever home, when this animal leaves us. So that's really our focus. And again, it's highlighted through these cards that we mentioned earlier.
I know,
Each one
so
identifies
cute.
different behaviors.
They're so cute. Okay, and you do have a volunteer program coming, because I also think, summer's coming, kids will be out of school, kids need volunteer opportunities or after-school opportunities, seniors. I mean, a lot of people have this passion for animals and would want to help in your mission of reuniting and
Absolutely.
rehoming.
Well, there's a couple
So you
things.
should watch your website.
Watch our website, but definitely some highlights through this is that you're going to have to at least be 16 with a guardian present on that, because obviously we're in situations where these animals do have claws and teeth, so there are pets, but they do come with a set of weapons, if you like, so you have to be careful. But definitely we're gearing towards wanting to be part of these communities. We want to be involved. There are a number of different programs that are coming out even beyond that, but our volunteer program will start to unfold. Certainly something to watch for on our website. And also, with that in mind, we have a great program that we basically touched on was in our adoption program is our senior program.
That's right.
And our senior program is if a guest comes to us and they are at that senior level in their life, and we have an animal that they identify with that also is a senior, that adoption is free. Because they're taking on that responsibility in their time of life where they want a companion, maybe not that's jumping up and running all over the place, and they want a dog that's a little bit more sedate, a little bit more just want to hang out. And we have developed programs that allow for those in the community that have taken that initiative.
But even for when there is a fee, your fee is pretty, and I have shopped around a lot at SPCA's and animal shelters, your fees are pretty reasonable.
Well, what we consciously decided, and again, this was with involvement from the 4 jurisdictions. You know, this is not a standalone facility. There are 4 governing boards associated with this. We looked at really focusing on the animal and wanting to move the animal into the best situation. So again, we didn't want the adoption fee to be the challenge. Part of that, we wanted to go ahead and structure it where we are realizing that we need to definitely be good stewards of our taxpayer dollars. So we cover our costs related to neuter and spay, the vaccines that we give, the microchip that comes with the adoption that's already placed to the animal. So we've really sort of thought a little bit about making sure that if this animal goes back into the community, we want it to be positive. We don't want to be worried about, does it have its rabies? Is it, you know, in a situation that's most positive?
Okay. Well, thank you so much for giving us this tour of the facility. I'm so excited. Thank you. And I hope folks will come. If you have a need of a pet, think about rehoming one of the ones that we have out there because they have a wonderful selection here. Visit the Regional Animal Shelter. Thanks for watching.